Do I have you, Dave?
You've got me, but not the station.
Because it's not part of the radio show group, oddly enough. That's weird. Why? Why is it not coming up? All right, forget it. I'll use the other chat.
No, stay there. I'm calling the station.
Too late.
Technical problems. Never mind us. We'll see what happens. We'll do the radio intro as soon as the show starts. Sorry about the trouble, everyone. I don't know what's happened to Mackie. Alrighty.
Alrighty. Do we have it?
We have it, and we're ready.
Beautiful. Okay, dokie. Hello and welcome to Plato's Cave on this wonderful day, which is the 1st of May. The 1st of May, May Day, Labor Day, 2025. And if you don't know it, we're playing with Teams, which on Apple is really an adventure. So apologies if it doesn't come across as clearly as it should. Having said that, we are broadcasting for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. And yes, Plato's Cave is what we are. Home to ideas. Fresh and
delicious.
Vacuum wrapped. Sure, why not? That's what they are. Importantly, though, this is not funded radio. So if you can donate, please do. Any kind of currency is good, including crypto. But if you can send gold or diamonds, that would be awesome. I'd love to get a crate of gold and diamonds. Thank you very much. You can catch the cave on the air, on the line all the time, and on your smart device. That's right. So grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. That's technology for you. But you know what's awesome? The archives are free, which means you have another good reason to donate. And if you can't donate, why don't you just tell people about the station? That helps a lot. And why don't you subscribe to us, our channels, and liking would be good, so that'd be awesome. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast, and for Dave.
It is the Dark and Jung.
Of course it is. And for myself, of course, the Larak people, and we'd like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Thank you very much. I'm not a huge fan of... I use Teams for work on a Windows machine, but Teams on Apple is not awesome. So let's see how we get on. We'll see how we get on. Takes a lot of screen real estate. I'll tell you what, Dave.
Doesn't it?
Takes a lot of screen real estate. Together mode.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel. What? Interestingly enough, I can't show gallery at top. How does that work? Well, it doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, no, okay, I'll
use together,
change.
Not gallery.
Yeah, I did together. That doesn't really give me what I want either. Yeah, here. I'm now looking at you.
See, now you can do that. Look at that.
You're shaved. Nice.
No.
Around your nose. Your nose is shaved.
I shaved my eyeballs.
I look like the crypt keeper with my lighting. Ho, ho. The crypt keeper, yes. Anyway, um, what a what a Thursday.
Wow, your audio is so loud.
Is it?
Yeah,
Get my.
it's square waving at the top.
How's that?
That's
Is that better?
Well, it is
Okay.
because you're talking softly.
Softly talking. That's for losers. It's, I know. I find it amusing. I now watch Donald Trump in the same way I used to watch George Bush Jr. It's just for the entertainment value because he's funny. And I know that he's got a lot of lovers, but I'll be honest with you, the stuff he says is gold. It's when just before the election, or not just before, but sort of in the couple of months leading up to it, the stock market experienced I guess, a bump, into positive territory. And he had an interview at the time, and he said, "Yep, that's all me. It's all me, not Biden. It's me." So even though it was Biden in the White House, it was Trump's effect, the fact that he was running for office, that gave the stock market a bump. Conversely, now that the stock market is slumping significantly, in fact, the American economy shrank 3%. Now, not only did it not grow, it actually it contracted. That's significant to understand. It's a recession. It's Biden's fault. It's 100 days into the Trump administration, but this is still Biden's fault, clearly. Nothing to do with the tariffs or the Ukraine or Putin or anything like that. It's all Biden's fault. Okay, sure. But a shrinking economy is not good. It's not good. And I listened to him, and he had this interview. I don't know, Dave, did you see the interview that he had with this gentleman in the Oval Office, a reporter?
No.
No, it was just a reporter, and he interviewed Donald Trump, glasses, and he asked him a few questions. And I'm sorry, but it was so funny. The guy asked, look, what about the guy that's been deported? The guy that we should bring back, the family man. Oh, no, he's a member of MS-13.
Mm-hmm.
And the reporter says, well, no, he's not. Oh, yeah, he is. It's tattooed on his hand. And they showed a picture of his hand with tattoos, which actually means a smoke to get high and love God or something. That's actually what these pictures mean. But in the picture that Trump showed, it was with Photoshop, somebody had put an MS-13 on each finger as the interpretation of that symbol that was tattooed on the finger. Right? So the MS-13 isn't actually there. It was put there to explain or to interpret what the tattoo meant, right? Which it doesn't, but it doesn't matter. But Trump thought, no, he's got MS-13 tattooed on his hand. And he wouldn't let it go. He started getting really angry with the reporter. Oh my God. And then he said, you know why I gave you the chance to come here and talk to me, to give you this interview? This is going to make your career, so, you're welcome. But essentially, I hadn't really heard of you before, so just be nice and ask me some nice questions. He actually said that, right? And I'm going, that's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. It's like, when you try to interview Idi Amin or maybe Putin, if he doesn't like it, you're going to fall out of the window. That's what's going to happen to you. And I'm just blown away by Donald Trump's complete lack of EQ, right? So this has nothing to do with his intelligence or with his ability as a businessman. This is his emotional intelligence, right? And it just doesn't seem to exist. He doesn't seem to be able to relate to people, which is amazing. And you know what? The funniest thing, though, and again, I'm making fun of him the way I made fun of George Bush Jr. At the funeral, at the Pope's funeral,
mm-hmm.
Did you watch the footage?
Yes.
Donald Trump was the only one in a sprightly blue suit, but okay, fair.
Do you know what's bizarre? That isn't true. When the camera zoomed out, there was about maybe 60-40% blue suits. It's very strange. No, I've seen it.
Send me the footage. Send me the footage because I haven't
to.
seen that. Yeah, but he did fall asleep, and the suit wasn't the funny bit. The funny bit was that he actually fell asleep. That was the funny bit. But yeah, so it's on the international stage, because Donald Trump doesn't understand international politics. He really doesn't. He doesn't understand international trade, and he still insists that tariffs are a tax on foreign countries to some extent. And that's just not factual. I mean, I guess we're living in the Trumpian world of we can all have our own truth, we hold to our own truth. But sometimes the sun does rise in the east. Yeah, it does. And it does set in the west. It happens. It's a thing. And I don't care how many times you say tariffs are a tax on foreign countries. They're not. They're just not. What is worrying, though, and I saw this report, when did I see it? The other day. Yeah, I think yesterday. They're looking at a significant drop in shipments from China, right, for Walmart and whatever, the big retailers in the States.
Shocking tragedy.
So there's a lot less stuff that's going to be on shelves, essentially, in America, right? And I'll hear this. The Port of Los Angeles is bracing for a 35% drop in imports next week. Well, simply because, the tariffs are making it very expensive for things to be imported from China, right? And the funny thing is this, another funny thing, the idea that Donald Trump initially put forward was, we are going to put tariffs on China, so all the jobs are coming back to America. And that was for a number of weeks. That was the mantra. We're going to bring jobs back to America, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Apple is closing its Chinese factories because the tariffs are just too much, and they're moving to India. And now the echo chambers around Trump are saying, yeah, that's good. We as long as they're out of China. It makes no difference if they're in India or China. Okay, there's still no work for American workers. It's no different. In fact, I would argue that it's worse to move it to India. But because in China at least there was quality control. Okay, yeah, in India I'm not too sure. So it's a really funny situation we find ourselves in. Donald Trump said he made 200 trade deals. Did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear that one.
There are only really 180 countries in the world, right? So, anyway,
maybe separate trade deals with the same country or something.
No. But Bassett said, he was referring to sub deals. I said, okay, sub deals, sure. It is becoming painfully obvious, right? And well, I have no time for any politician or any billionaire or any person like that he is and his administration, they're not up to the task of running the United States. They're just not. And if you don't have any dissenting voices, you're in trouble. If everybody agrees all the time with everything, eventually you will run to a problem that is going to sink you. Okay? You must have independent thinkers that can, sound the alarm. It's actually very nicely illustrated in the movie World War Z. Brad Pitt's character goes to Israel, and he talks to a gentleman there, and he tells him this story. Back in the day when the Nazis came along and Jews were deported to concentration camps, none of the Jewish councils would, believe that it was possible. They all thought it was, it can't happen. This is Germany, no way, right? And then, at the time that they were in, there was a reasonable thought because it wasn't Germany, right? Now we know better. And ever since then, as far as the movie explains, there has been the role of the odd man out. So I think there are like 12 people making decisions, but the 12th person, if everybody else agrees, if 11 people agree, for example, the 12th person must disagree, even if they want to agree. But it is their duty to disagree, right? Just to explore another avenue. And that's why Israel built the wall to defend themselves from the zombies, because obviously every rational person said there are no zombies, but the 12th person, and I'm getting the number wrong, I'm sure, then decided, oh no, there are zombies, we better build a wall, right? My point here is consensus, without question, is a very dangerous thing, right? Because the will of the king, which is what this is not always correct, right? Donald Trump is not infallible. And if America keeps going the way they are, it's only 3 months, Dave. It's only 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And the international arena, even the American economy, it shrank 3%. That's significant. People thought things would be cheaper. They're not. People are being deported now. And now there's a threat that U.S. citizens might be deported to El Salvador. Right? What happened to due process? And the question was asked, what happened to due process? Is there due process? The reporter asked him. Well, there's a process. We're going to get them out of the country. I was elected to get foreign criminals out of the country. Now, nobody would disagree with that. That's a sensible thing to do. You want to get criminals out. But unfortunately, in America, you've got something called due process, which is enshrined in the Constitution. Everybody gets their day in court, no matter who they are. He got his day in court, right? Everybody gets their day in court. But he's denying that to those illegal immigrants, but now he's looking to deny it to green card holders, student visa holders, and it seems that he might even be looking to withhold it or circumvent it for citizens. Because they're bad people. Now, the whole reason there's a judicial system, and I'm not saying it's perfect. In fact, I would change many things, but the whole reason there's a judicial system is to make the judgment on how someone is, if someone is a bad person or not. So they get their day in court, right? You can't just make a summary decision single-handedly and decide this person is a bad person, off they go, right? Especially if it's built on erroneous information, such as the MS-13 tattoo, which is really funny. It's not funny for the person that it happens to, but it's funny. And there's one thing, though, Dave, that really upset me.
What's that?
And I'll be honest with you. The administration deported an illegal immigrant, a lady, back to her home country, not to a prison, to the home country, right? And they also deported her children, at least one of which was a natural-born American. Now, that natural-born American was in cancer treatment, right? Here, not here, in America. Now, that cancer treatment won't be available for that child, wherever, I think Venezuela, but I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. So, we are now arbitrarily deciding the death of children. Is that where America is now? I mean, they've done it for a long time, but this is really blatant in your face, right? In fact, what we've seen in the Gaza Strip is now ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. They showed the footage of the ambulance workers that were killed. There were 17 ambulance workers, 15 were shot dead, and 2 survived. One was released today, I think, and his phone shows what actually happened, because the Israelis said, oh, they didn't have the sirens on. They looked suspicious.
Yeah, but
in the video,
I saw the footage.
Yeah. It's very clear the sirens are on. They have got the lights on. There's nothing suspicious about it, but they opened fire, and I think they continued firing for like something crazy like 10, 15 minutes, right? And that's a long time to shoot a gun. I don't know if you ever shot a gun, but shooting a gun for 10, 15 minutes is a long time to shoot. You have to reload several times.
You can imagine how hot the barrel would get.
Oh, completely. And like I said, only 2 of the 17 survived. And now the Israelis saying, it was just failure of communications or some crazy thing. What we're seeing in the Gaza Strip, like I said from the start, when this first started, this will end with no Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Full stop. Ideally, no Palestinians in the West Bank. Ideally, no Palestinians at all. In fact, one of the conservative cabinet members under Netanyahu doesn't believe that the Palestinians exist as a people. That's nice. So, we can't really ethnically cleanse them if they don't exist. Yeah. And it is that kind of deliberate. What's the best word here? It is not stupidity or ignorance. It's a deliberate denial, I guess, of humanity in a way. That is the most terrifying thing of all, right? Because clearly the deportees in America, they're denied the human rights. These are the Gazans, the Palestinians. I want to say Gazans because they're not just Palestinians in Gaza, believe it or not, are being denied the humanity. Ukraine and Russia are fighting. Russia has no interest at all in ending the war, not even a little bit. And that's very clear now. I don't think there's any doubt in anyone's mind as to what Putin's end game is. Right? I mean, Donald Trump said it. Putin wants all of Ukraine. He wants to rebuild the Russian Empire. It's said on air. That's his plan. I know that. I know that. Europeans know that. We've all known that. That's his plan. Nothing is going to stop him in trying. He will try. Will he get there? Maybe, maybe not. But he will certainly try his best to get there. Right? That's the way he sees himself, and that's why he so carelessly throws away his fellow citizens' lives to the tune of almost 1 million now. Right? Not all killed, but wounded. Right? 1 million, almost 1 million Russian soldiers. Those are like, Dave, we talked about this. These are World War I numbers.
That's right.
It's look, I don't know. What has tickled your fancy this week?
I have some images here, which I'll happily display mid-screen. And the first is a meme. It's turned into a joke, I suppose, because of all of the document releases from the CIA. You should like this one. It says CIA realizes it's been using black highlighters all these years.
No, I saw it.
That to me is really funny. I think that says a lot more about our time than ever before. Right? That's number one. Number two, I can only keep it up for a second on the screen, and it was the next one that I sent you. And it's the Grim Reaper has met a person on the street. You can see without saying it. And then the news reporter says, and the Grim Reaper is dead from an apparent suicide. I think that's pretty funny. Cartoonists used to be the poignant cornerstone of our civilization. They used to hit the nail exactly where it needed to be hit or struck. And now someone's showing a video of Idiocracy. And that's one of my favorite movies. It isn't great. Don't think it's going to be an epic masterpiece. It won't go down in the annals of history and be embossed in bronze and have a statue for it. But we are so close to that. It's not funny now. Mecca, you mentioned at the top of the show how Trump engages with the media completely differently than any other political leader that we've known in our lifetimes.
Unlike any other person, I would say.
Person, that's good. Yeah. Now, when I've rewatched Idiocracy, I have a little bit of time up my sleeve these days. That is pretty much, it's like, yeah, sure, it's a professional wrestler who's the president, but we're only one election away from that, surely. Yeah. How close could we be, Mackie? And I've got some images here also of the Trump suit. Now, I've got an image here. This is from Getty Images, and all the black suits look really black. And I thought, that's all right. What are you going to do? I can't show the other one, but this is the screen grab. This one here, I've sent it to you on WhatsApp, but this is a screen grab from the same image that I'm going to show next. I've sent you a link to the next one, which is the clear shot showing about maybe 40%, and all the dark suits now look like dark suits, not photoshopped dark suits, whereas the close-up showing Trump in the blue suit, and there's a guy to his rear right standing sideways in the crowd with grey hair, short grey hair. He's actually wearing a blue suit. When you have a look at it, that's not altered. This is the original. I went on to Tin Eye and I found the original groupings of these, and there's a whole bunch of blue. So it depends on which media outlet you go to, and I've got another image which is, but it's a stock one and I can't show it. It's from Alamy, and it's the original image. Oh, maybe I can. Hang on a sec. Open a new tab. I think I can do it. I'll drag it over. I've got to accept stuff. And this is the original image. And once again, it's zoomed right out, and you can see the chain link fence or whatever it's been taken through around the outside. So this is the largest format of this one, and I'm not allowed to buy it in my territory. It says, sorry, this image isn't available for license in your territory. That's interesting. And this was about, this highlighted Zelensky, this one. So this was centered on Zelensky, but not Trump. But they're pretty close to each other. So it annoys me just how rapidly the media will focus on something in order to try to make a point. And this is all about my slant. And I get it. I get why people do a slant. The slant being the demographic of that news outlet, for instance. It annoys me greatly that they'll demonize someone, for instance, but withhold for the supporters of the people they like. So, look, it does my head in. Meki, one thing I wanted to bring up again, and this was the power outage in Spain and Portugal and parts of France, because they share a grid. And there was a news story earlier that didn't mention... Oh, it does mention France. Yeah, it does. Southwestern France. So there still isn't an adequate description of why. And I think that it's deeper than we think.
Oh, so, no, it's an attack.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Yep. So deeper than initially the Spanish government said, oh, it's not an attack. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. The day before, they just announced they went to 100% renewables. This is the news article out on that. And then the next day, they've got no power. That's a bit odd. I mean, it's really odd that they should lose it. They're connected states, or countries. They also lost because their power went off, so they had to turn theirs off in case something happened. So they're all automatically switched. So if your source goes off, you turn yours off so that it can be restored in the correct order. And once they severed those connections into Spain, they could then bring theirs back up again, and that's all good. It's all goodness. The region in which it appears to have happened, immediately, parts of the internet were talking about that could be an EMP, could be a weapon that went off. Sabotage is another one, or a cyber security hack.
No, it wasn't an EMP because it didn't
kill
anything on
local
battery
electronics.
power.
That's right. Yep.
So it was definitely not that. Having said that, though, you're right. But it was an attack. I've got no doubt.
I've got no doubt too. Or because in the top of my list is firstly Solar Storm, but it was confirmed it wasn't because I looked at all of the data. Next, a hack. Well, I can't see the data, but that's top of my list. Next, top of my list. Trial run for limiting power to a country who doesn't play
Oh,
by
I see.
another
Okay.
level of power. Say, not blaming the WEF, but there's a lot of stuff going on. So they tell us that we don't have enough power. They tell us that power interruptions are most certain all around the world. Doesn't matter what country you're in, and as long as you've signed up to the WEF, that's the notification you get, that there isn't enough power anymore for some reason. But there was yesterday. Before you signed, you had plenty of power. Now don't have enough power. So it makes me worry, because about 1 year to the day before the pandemic that we went through, the WEF put out a statement saying there would be a coronavirus outbreak, like they were predicting this in South America, in a wet market, believe it or not, in South America. And it was a year almost to the day. Then we had another pandemic, and it was also claimed to be in a wet market in another country. They've also said that there are power issues coming. Who knows? They're talking about the combination of the grid being weak. The grid. And then they said it was an unusual low-frequency oscillation. And then they said there was an atmospheric abnormality or something like that, which didn't seem to make any sense. Was it driven by satellites?
No, it does if it was a HARP system or HARP-like system that was used.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Having said that, though, so well, first of all, we know that we are coming to a crunch when it comes to electricity. Mm-hmm. We know that. We know for a fact that we're hitting a point soon where our bitcoins and such and AI, especially AI, are going to use up so much.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's going to be phenomenal. There's going to be so much power going out of the system. We'll be now in competition over resources with AI, that there will be shortages. That's number one, right? And the renewables, such as they are not enough, and coal and gas and so forth will still play a role, a significant role for the foreseeable future.
Well,
simply because
Spain's got a whole bunch of gas power.
Yeah, they would need it, and they should keep it. It's silly to go, But well, I mean, the thing is, if everybody went electric car, electric everything to the house, no more gas to the house, there is not enough electricity in the world to go around. Full stop.
That's right. That's so right.
And that's true. That's a true statement, country by country, right? And never mind the pollution you create with the non-renewables. With the renewables rather, like solar cells and the wind turbines and all that stuff, right? Let's leave that to the side. Just the pure electricity. You need gas, oil, and coal for electricity production, and nuclear. Totally. as it gets better and better. So you have no choice. There's no. I mean, because we're addicted to electricity. We're not addicted to oil. That's wrong. We're addicted to electricity. Without electricity, our civilization stops tomorrow. Mm-hmm. There's no civilization. No electricity, our civilization ends.
And without oil, we have no plastic.
Yeah, but that's okay. We can always have what's that? Bakelite. Remember Bakelite?
I've actually got an old phone up on the shelf up there.
Nice. Yeah, actually, it was Bakelite. My grandparents and a radio too.
That's right. And that was pre-plastic.
It was absolutely pre-plastic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now the interesting, in fact, plastic we're talking it really took off after World War II.
That's right.
It was in use before World War II, but it really took off after. Now, so that's the electricity. That's an issue. That's a problem, and we don't need anyone sabotaging anything for that actually to happen, right? So what is next?
I have a segue off this too.
Seg me.
All right. So I've sent you today. I replied to 2 comments on Facebook about this plan from the UK to spend £50 million of government money that they don't have, but hey, what the hell, on blocking the sun to fight climate change. Did you read my comments? Did you see them?
That's it.
So
I think that's gold. Let's just do that. Like, we build a big umbrella. That's what we're gonna do.
Yes, it's like Mr. Burns when he decides to torment the town for going against him, so he blocks out the sun. Yes, let's block out the sun.
Yeah, we can do that.
Do you think that's wise, sir? Yes. So UK scientists want to block out the sun, and I have a story for that, right? And this was my game changer. This said more about what the true cause is, and carbon is a bunch of nonsense. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a climate scientist. We've all believed the climate scientist. We have believed them since Al Gore did his Inconvenient Truth movie and got us all on board. Tesla drivers, wow, the smug, Mickey, that they have when they drive their pure electric vehicle. And
not anymore. They now have stickers, but not because of the obvious lie that electricity is, but rather because of Elon Musk. I didn't know he was a Nazi. That's right. So the whole planet has gone crazy. And why? I mean, there's a single country in the world that is polluting and is not going to stop anytime soon. And so I think whatever the reason is that the scientists in England want to block out the sun, it's not just going to be for them. It's going to be for all the humans on the planet. So who voted? I don't know. Did you vote, Mickey? Was there a referendum? Well, they came around my house yesterday, so I said, look, you knock yourself out, see what you can do.
I wish they'd come around here. I could do with the money. So I'll say yes if you pay me. Why not? So the hard part about this is plant growth right now, because of the CO2 in the atmosphere, has gone up considerably. Plant growth. Plants love it. If we deny CO2 to the plants, then they don't grow as much. And plants make the oxygen we breathe. That's great. So blocking the sun out reduces our ability to create oxygen. It's like a perpetual winter, so to speak, yeah? I'm not saying they're going to block the sun out so it's completely black and we can't see anything and the earth is in shadow the entire time. We just become an ice ball. And I suppose that could be someone's agenda. Right? Who was the scientist that even thought this crazy idea up and got funding? I don't know who that could possibly be. Is there a mad scientist that's been underground too long, working on top secret projects?
The secret mole man.
So it can't be a good idea. So this whole story here tells me more about the reason for climate change, that it isn't carbon at all. We've been lied to. It is about the sun's output. If the sun's output is higher, then we get hotter. It's extraordinary.
Well, yes. I mean, there are mitigating circumstances. Like in summer, you get cold days. Even though the sun is in the same position relative to the Earth, it blasts the same, but there's cloud cover and Arctic winds, etc. So there's more to it than that. Mm-hmm. But the overall energy absorption of the atmosphere, right, is at least the upper layers of the atmosphere remains the same. So if the sun output to today's point gets up, mm-hmm. Goes up and up, the energy is absorbed by the atmosphere, and the atmosphere overall will get hotter. Mm-hmm. We might still experience cold days, or colder or cooler days during summer, but the energy that enters the atmosphere is increased. That's simple and straightforward physics, right? And that's absolutely true.
That's exactly right. So what they want to do is spray sulfur dioxide up into the atmosphere.
Just look at the cane toads, and then the sulfur dioxide is going to be eaten by the cloud weevils. Come on. It's like,
So
really?
So from what I understand, sulfuric acid is made by sulfur dioxide and moisture. And who knows?
Water. Yeah.
Yeah, and water. So
Yeah.
here we go. Some call it a dangerous distraction. Remember, like when the nuclear things and my grandmother's story about the train doing 23 miles an hour, you couldn't ride it with the windows open because you'd all suffocate. So
Suffocate.
not everyone agrees with the research. Senior scientists have called ARIA's program a dangerous distraction from cutting emissions. Some even labelled SRM barking mad and compared it to treating cancer with an aspirin.
No, well, actually, no. It's treating cancer with a flamethrower. Okay, that's good. Cancer's gone. Look, because it is effective in creating something that we used to have in the 80s called acid rain. Okay?
That's right.
So, and acid rain killed vast swathes of forest in Europe. I mean, tracts of the Black Forest just died under the acid rain. And that wasn't a good idea. And I still think it's not a good idea to have acid rain come down on us.
So Mackie's completely right. So this was my biggest worry. So acid rain is primarily caused by emissions of sulfur dioxide, SO2, and nitrogen oxides, NOx, from human activities. Now, your petrol car, without the catalytic converter, produces more nitrous oxides.
Yeah, correct.
Right? But with that, it burns most of it. But such as burning fossil fuels in power plants, vehicles, and industrial processes, these pollutants react with water and other chemicals in the atmosphere to form sulfuric and nitric acids. So if you want to kill all the life on the planet, do it. Spray that sulfur dioxide up into the stratosphere, and who cares? I don't care anymore. Acid rain. All I need is a lead umbrella, Mackie.
Yeah. No, it is glass like a mad umbrella. Scientist
That'd be better.
It's a glass. Well, actually, yeah, that would be pretty cool. No, but look, that's the truth. That is the truth. It's
Pyrex.
I mean, again, the reason I mentioned cane toads is people thought it was a good idea to introduce cane toads to get rid of this bug. Now the bug lives apparently up in the sugarcane leaves, yeah, and the cane toad doesn't go any higher than it can jump, which is not at all.
Climb.
Okay, not to save its life. Okay, so it's
so they thought about that idea for about a minute.
Yeah. So, but they did it. Here it is. It's done, and now we have two pests to contend with. Nice.
That's called cumulative effect. That is.
Yeah. Oh, the problem, and I know we've mentioned this before, right? The problem that we have is someone is going to dream up something, right? Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. And they will do that in isolation or within their peer group, and because our knowledge and our sciences are so vast, not one person can know it all. There are no more Renaissance men or women. They just aren't. Okay, you can't know it all. So if you do your own little bit over here, right, and then something happens that might affect what you're doing, you might never hear about it because it's not in your field, right? And so before you know it, the UK and Europe are drowning in acid rain, that is sort of dissolving their clothes as they walk in the street.
Ooh,
something went wrong. Yeah, that's right. And that's with most things, right? I mean, Dave and I are lucky that we can skim the surface of many things because we have the time and we're not really beholden to any one interest group. And then we looked at, genetic experimentation was one. I mean, a lot of people didn't know that Japan introduced a law that allows you to carry a mutation, a hybrid between animal and human DNA to full term. You're allowed to carry to full term in Japan, right? A lot of people missed it. It happened during COVID. Well, we have the time to follow it up, and we told you guys about it. That's a dangerous thing. Similar to this year, right? Where these things are just happening, and someone comes up with a brilliant idea. I mean, the next thing I'm sure they're going to think of, you know what? We're just going to have the satellite network, and because in a vacuum, glass is as strong as steel. In case you didn't know this, we'll just have this really thin sheet, these thin sheets of glass.
Yeah.
They're going to be launched with satellites, and there'll be this glass cupola, if you will, or cupola,
Yep.
a dome that sort of covers the Earth like a shield that will darken when the sun hits it, like your sunglasses.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because that's a great idea, right?
Let's
just
do that. Yeah. I'm on board.
But right.
Except for the darkening part and the glass. And the sulfur dioxide.
That's it. But everything else sounds like a fantastic idea. Now, but I want to go back to the Spain outage. I believe that it was a war test. I think Russia. I really believe that Russia is testing its cyber capabilities in disrupting power. Now, imagine, because like I said before, the Germans are now seriously expecting the Russians to invade a NATO member other than, not other than, but a NATO member. They've got Ukraine now. Would they invade one of the Baltic states? Maybe Latvia, Estonia, maybe Poland. Maybe it's definitely possible. And imagine they're able to take out the grid.
Yeah, that's the first thing you want to attack when you're going to attack somebody.
Completely.
Take their power out. They've lost all comms. But do it a couple of days before you want to go in, because then all of their batteries and their fuel problems will prevent their mobile communications, temporary power. Yep.
That's right. You can paralyze a country, right?
No, totally.
And while there will be military-grade communications, will still be possible. Of course, the
like walkie-talkies.
All of Europe.
Things. Yep.
It would be massively crippled, and that would be when you want to invade, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be confusing. It'd be completely confusing if there are comms, if there's no early warning, if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
You're essentially in a fog of war. Like we haven't had a fog of war in a first world nation since World War II.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And now with the satellite networks and everything, there's no fog of war. It doesn't exist. So that would be my guess, that it was Russia. China is not really that interested in trying that. I mean, they might try it on Japan, or if this had happened in South Korea or Japan. If
it's going to happen anywhere, it's going to be in Japan. That's right.
Yeah, but since this happened in Spain and Portugal, which is sizable. I mean, it's the size of Germany, right? Comparatively speaking, or France. These are similarly sized countries with similar populations. You can see that. I mean, that's effective. It was effective. It was a success. Okay, it was a success. So, and even if they knew it was a cyber attack, they wouldn't disclose that information.
They wouldn't say it.
They would not. No, can't. The panic would be worse than the blackout. So, sorry, that's what I think we are. And I think that Russia is poised to invade a NATO country. And I don't think that Europe is quite ready to repel. Now, the heavy losses that Russia has sustained in the Ukraine war might delay that, right? Because those losses are, like I said, they're on a World War I scale, completely incomprehensible. It's a million. And these are young Russian men, so you're effectively wiping out a generation there of people. Yeah, look, I don't know, Dave. But
I've got a comment on that, right? So, the only truly active army or military in the world has been doing it for the world police, the US. I don't know about how. I do know how. We gave the Russians a lot more credibility before the Ukraine attempt at what I would call a blitzkrieg, but it failed miserably.
No, that's not it.
Do it a weekend, right? So they lost a lot of their generals, their renter military. Had issues and got shipped away, never to be seen again. Other countries have come in, and look, I really thought, unless of course Russia is keeping all of its good armory sacred and secure behind their lines, and they didn't use it because the heavy losses that they've taken to rebuild those would take you 5-10 years. The people on their own, maybe 10 years, 20 years to get another fighting force. That's a lot of people to lose. And
it is.
I gave them more strength, but the strength has been in their nuclear weapons.
Yes, that's it.
And we've seen the development of extremely cheap, like cardboard, plastic, and balsa wood drones now with some incredible tech, EMP proof on both sides, for almost nothing per unit or per death. So the rate of the death cost, how do you destroy a tank? If it's a $90 million tank, a $1 million missile is reasonable. But if it's a drone that's only cost $300, you're not going to send an $80,000 missile at it.
That's right.
It's just too costly. You can't afford it. So the severe and swift cost reduction of what is capable of taking out another, like your opponent, and I'm seeing this evolve and continue to evolve. Even today, I thought we might have been at the bottom of it, but we're not. So that's a huge change militarily. But is that enough? If you had a B-52 or a C-130 or something flying with that short film with the little drones that have the C4 and land and take you out because they've got face wreck, if that was a thing, that would be extraordinary. That would be so frightening that you wouldn't want to go outside.
No, that's right.
But we're not
That's
there,
right.
Thankfully, at the moment. But if power is cut, just harking it back, if power is cut to your nation, whoever you are, and there's been a warning about Australia apparently, but who knows what's going to happen? How someone could know if it wasn't a cyber attack? Yeah. Who would know who was next? The populace in disarray is the worst because of the admin to get it back under control. So having so many million people without tech, without food, it can get out of shape really quickly. So in America, if they happen to have the same thing happen there, they're talking more than 4 to 6 months to restore power, because it's just that terrible. Once there's no power, there isn't any power. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you can't start a nuclear power station even though it's producing its own power. You've got to switch the whole thing off. There has to be some source of power to be able to start the rest of it off. And we've never been in that situation. There's always been power. So that had people scratching their heads that, well, if it's 6 months, the nation's gone. If it's 4 months, the nation has gone. It's fallen already. There isn't a way of recovering from it. So how long, think about it as a thought experiment, how long would it take for wherever you live to be hit by a power outage so severe that it didn't return in a week, 2 weeks, I mean nationally, 3 weeks? How long before you're barbecuing your neighbour?
What zombies? No, look.
That's right.
Right. But sorry, I was just conjuring up Barney during the zombie apocalypse. And look, that's a fair point, and the answer is, depending on whether or not you're one of those prepper types, yeah, that is prepared for these kinds of things, where you don't fight for toilet paper in the supermarket, you're going to be okay. And if you live in a small community, and I mean that, in a small community like a village or
a rural
in the country somewhere,
center,
right? Then you're going to be much better off than the cities. The cities will eat themselves.
Yeah,
the
totally.
cities will be, and the bigger the city, the worse it will be.
The king of the hill groups that attempt to start controlling it will wipe themselves out, become one, and then dissolve.
100%. It's going to be catastrophic. So I would stay away. If you're in a big city and this happens, get out.
Get out.
Get out of the big city.
Out.
Get out. If you want to live, come with me. No, but it's true, right? And people will help each other in the countryside much more than they would otherwise. Of course, the problem then is that a huge mass exodus of the cities will, go toward the country. And my suggestion is that you don't live near major arteries of transit, train lines, highways, whatever it might be, right? You want to be away from that as much as you can.
Because they're natural paths for people to take.
Correct. And if you're hard to get to, then that's a good thing in that situation. But again, even if away from the city centers, like I'm probably 30 kilometers as the crow flies from the coast, where the center of Sydney is, the CBD, and that's pretty far. It's far enough to count as a small community, I guess. Still, though, it's going to be safe. No, I mean, lucky enough, there are a lot of family and friends that live in close proximity, and that's really important as well, that you have a community. But the Carrington event, Dave, to your point, that would be the end of us.
It totally would.
And that's the music. Good Lord. That went quick. Thank you so much for the chat room. Special shout out to Flatty and Toys, but Flatty specifically has been great chatting in there. I agree that we should come to a halfway meeting point. So this has been Platos Cave. Don't go anywhere. Something else is going to come up, I'm sure. But most of all, Dave,
be safe.